Welcome to the Bright Wings Transformational Show. This is Nancy Boyd, your host. Get ready for some transformation. Welcome, everyone. You are here on the mini masterclass for writing the Comet of Transformation. And first of all, I want to apologize for anyone who had difficulties reaching us. If you're catching this on a replay, we did have some technical difficulties involving what the right link is for you to get here. So those of you who did make it, thank you. I really appreciate it. We're going to launch right into things. We have an awful lot to discuss. If along the way you have any questions, I'm going to ask you please to put your questions in the chat. And if we have time at the end, I will have Suzanne let me know what your questions are, and I'll do my best to answer them. Hopefully we'll have time for it all. If not, we'll decide what to do at the end of this call about that. So first of all, for those who haven't met me before, my name is Nancy Boyd. I'm a healer, award-winning writer, and award-winning coach. I'm here in life in general to help people who want more out of life, to transform their noise into music and to lean into their own brilliance. My ideal clients are healed survivors of abuse, post-traumatic stress, addictions, trauma, any kind of survivor who are ready to engage with me to create elegant solutions to complex problems. And we have a lot of complex problems in the world right now, which is probably what brought you here. We're going to talk about some ways to deal not just with trauma, but the dramatic and intense changes that we're all living through right now. It's a very remarkable time. My book, Healing the Wanting, Making the Shift from Grasping to Gratitude, covers how we heal from the traumas of poverty, abuse, scarcity, and more, and how to transform suffering into freedom, power, and real leadership. I'm developing courses in the Soul Path Academy for soul mastery in conscious evolution. And so that's my work. That's about my work. But today, we're going to talk about the dramatic and rapid shifts that we're facing in the world. And I want to share a few key things with you that are going to help you going forward. I can't cover everything that you would need to know in just an hour, but here's what we can cover today in this masterclass. I could probably do at least an hour masterclass on each of the following topics, but for today, this is what we're going to cover in enough detail to give you a good understanding of why each of these topics are important. First, we'll have a brief look at what comets are and the energy that they bring. And that was the reason why I used that term, a comet, as a metaphor for the kinds of changes that we're going through. We're going to talk about why transformation is a good thing and key ways to think about what's happening to be more effective at coping with it all. How to manage yourself and your conflicts better, and how to transform your own life and heal the world. And maybe what are some next steps that individuals can take and collective groups can take. As I promised when I announced this masterclass, there's really nothing for sale here. I'm not trying to convince you of anything or sell you anything. I'm just here to help you move through these times of crisis and show you how you can thrive even when things seem dark and dangerous. And there are times when it is. At the end, if there's time, I will also share some resources with you. But before we dig in though, now let's take a look at what a comet is. According to NASA, the National Space and Science Administration, comets are frozen leftovers from the formation of the solar system, composed of dust, rock, and ices. They range from a few miles to tens of miles wide, but as they orbit closer to the sun, they heat up and spew gases and dust into a glowing head that can be larger than a planet. And we can see these visibly in the sky as they pass into our atmosphere. If you've been alive long enough, and most of us probably have who are on this call, you will have seen at least one or maybe more comets in your life. And oddly enough, we're going to have a comet coming up in our experience in the I think it'll be about 9 years before it'll get here, but there is one coming. So as these comets pass near through our atmosphere in our planet, they leave a trail of debris that can stretch for millions of miles into space. And that's also visible, but the most visible part is the part that's sort of heated up and glowing that you can see in the sky. And I wasn't actually completely surprised to learn that there is an actual comet heading our way, even though it won't get here for a while. But as with other comets in the past, sometimes when there is a comet approaching, you can feel the effects a long time in the future before it gets here. And so I'm wondering, maybe we're feeling a little bit of that now. I have no idea whether that's sparking some of the dramatic events that are going on or not. It's maybe impossible to know that, but it just makes you wonder. And whether or not it's an actual comet that we're talking about, there's an energy of transformation for at least the past 3 years that I can identify that's been impacting everyone here on Earth and everything. It feels like a comet because it's big, it's powerful, and it brings with it tremendous upheaval and changes. So while there's multiple things going on, I'm going to name just the top 3 things that have already created enormous change. None of them will surprise you because we've all been living through it. But it's important to view these things through a new perspective. And that's why I chose to focus on them. Of course, the first thing is the COVID-19 global pandemic, and this is ongoing until we find a cure or effective ways to manage it. The second thing is climate crisis. And we can see how this has impacted the world in general through all the natural disasters of catastrophic proportions, some of them wiping out entire cities with floods, tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, and to name just a few of the dramatic changes that have been caused by the climate change, which is now a crisis because it's so severe and it's so serious. And finally, political violence, upheaval, and wars. And even in our own country, we haven't been spared in the United States. We've seen some of this in the past year. And what I will say is when change this big comes with as much force as a comet, the experience of it will change you. Sometimes it changes everything, depending on what has happened to you personally or to your family or community. The question we all face is, how do we ride these strange energies? How do we survive the debris that's left behind? And how can we possibly see the horrors of these powerful changes we experience as anything but destructive? So let's get into this. First of all, if you're being impacted by all the changes these and other events are having on you, you're not alone. I think that's pretty understandable. Everyone on the planet is impacted in some way. As I've said this already, but it's really important to understand that the experiences we're having are shared experiences through the human collective. That experience is something new and at a different level than ever before. And there's a reason why that's really important. And I'll talk about that in a moment. Secondly, if you're looking for something to blame, don't bother. Nobody has time for that. We've got bigger things to worry about. We have problems to solve. And in some ways, it doesn't matter what or who is to blame. We just have to deal with it. And that's the point. So here's what you need to understand right now from my perspective. And these are the things that I developed this mini masterclass to share with you. If you have some way to take notes on this, please do. I can't guarantee that there will be a replay. I'm going to try to make sure there is. With technology and all the things that are going on, I'm not sure that that's going to be possible. I'll do my best to try, and I'll get some help for that if I can. But here's the things that are important for us to know. And I repeat, first of all, sweeping changes will affect everyone. No one is exempt. It's not personal. Although each of us are going to feel the effects in different ways, each of us will have to deal with the effects of change. What we're experiencing is both individual and collective. And this is a new experience for humanity. Humanity overall has never experienced the traumas together, collectively, in our consciousness, and with the awareness that it's happening all over to many people, to most people, and most living things on the planet. So that awareness, that consciousness is a new thing. And that's an important thing to remember. So we'll come back to that. The second thing that's important to note is that what used to be dependable for us and stable is also changed or changing. It's no longer reliable. It's like we've been holding on for dear life to the log in the river during a flood, but suddenly we discover that what we thought was a log is just an alligator that's about to eat us. And we have to let go of it. It's time to let go so that we get ourselves out of danger of that. And hopefully we'll learn how to swim and get to the shore safely. But the point is that whatever we used to hold on to may or may not now be stable because of the changes that are happening. So the things that we used to rely on may not be there for us or in the same way, or they may be damaged or affected in some way. And that's new too. There used to always be something that we could count on. And in some ways, maybe there are some spiritual things that and resources and inner resources that we can count on. However, what we can't count on is what's the effects of what's happening and what that means to us and how that's going to affect us and our communities, our families, and so on. So the fact that we can no longer depend on what used to be reliable and stable is also a new collective experience, causing an awful lot of dismay, fear, anxiety, and stress at the very least. The third thing that I want to bring up is that adaptability is the new survival skill. It's also the most valuable emerging currency that we have. People who've already mastered some kind of adaptability, some resilience, are already in pretty high demand and will be for a long time going forward. Now, in the midst of everything that's going on, it's impossible not to have feelings. We're all going to have feelings, all the feels. And at the same time, while we're having these feelings, we also have to be effective at creating solutions. So that's kind of a new experience as well. We not only have to deal with what's happening, but we have feelings about what's happening, which can get in the way of us dealing effectively and competently with the things that are going on. So what do you do about that? There's going to be lots of ways potentially that you could deal with it, but my personal recommendation is that you go ahead and carve some kind of space out for yourself to let those feelings express through you in safe ways, whether you do that simultaneously along with trying to create solutions, if you can, or if you press sort of a pause button in your life and don't let those feelings sink you into despair, but take some time to process what pieces of it you can, and then continue on with the things that must be done in your daily life, because survival is everything. We're not going to get through this if we don't all survive it. First of all, there is that, and it's a very important concept. And we cannot lose sight of the fact that this is bringing up all kinds of feelings for us, some re-stimulating previous trauma. And that too is a very difficult thing. But remember, we're not doing this alone. Everybody's going through some version of this at the same time. It may not be your specific thing, but everybody is feeling the anxiety, all the range of feelings that there are, whether from fear to anger to everything in between. And that's happening simultaneously with us having to face what is going on and figuring out what to do about it. So that's another new thing. Give your feelings space. Don't let them take over your world, but give them just enough space so that you're not stuffing them or pretending that you're not having the feelings, because that's not going to help you either. But don't give them so much space that they take over your life, because you're going to need to be present to create solutions and to combine with other people in creating those solutions. So the fourth point that I want to make is that we're all called to be leaders in some way in this time, using whatever talents and wisdoms we may have. The world is going to be saved by grassroots, heart-centered heroes, and not by a savior at this time. In days of old, in the times past, we could look to a leader, a one person or one group who were going to take us out from danger into the promised land, like Moses leading the Israelites to the new land into safety. That's one example of it. And you can see time and again where situations have been, I won't say solved, but made better when someone is there to lead you and to show you where to go out of it. The problem is right now, that kind of dynamic is not effective. It isn't working anymore, and it's not intended to, in my opinion, because we're here to do things together for the first time, really, in the consciousness of the world and consciousness of humanity. Instead of there being a single leader, we're together figuring out what the steps are, what the leadership roles are, and what piece each of us plays in that. And when we do it, it's a marvelous new kind of tapestry. I mean, it's fascinating to observe if you can have enough time, and I have taken some time in meditation and in other ways to step back and look at what really is going on here. Because the people who are expecting there to be a leader are going to be disappointed. That kind of leader is not going to be what solves the whole problem. First of all, we have too many problems. One leader can't solve them all. So there is that. But apart from that, it takes a collective consciousness to deal with at least the three main things that I already named: the global pandemic, climate change, and the political and just the violence, the urge to be violent in the world, to address what that means and how to handle that in ways that are going to help us survive and thrive on the other side of it, because that way it's not going to work. We're cooperative leaders working on big solutions together. And it's an entirely new way to live. It takes some getting used to it. First of all, even getting your head around it. That's why I'm bringing it up now, is to stop looking for a savior. There are people who are effective at certain roles and can lead us in certain ways beyond where we are and have a leadership role in creating some particular solution. Yes, there will be that, but they're not the ones to save everything. They're not going to make everything better. We have to work together to make that happen. So stop looking for a knight in shining armor or the cavalry or a guru. None of these are going to help you, and they might not even exist anymore. And what instead we need to do is to start figuring out what you can do with what you have and how you can connect with others who are working on the same things, or connect with others in your community who are willing to help create solutions. That's how we're going to roll now. And that's new and different. It's a whole different way of being in the world, a way of showing up. And it takes some courage, really, to give up the idea that someone is going to perhaps save us or make things better. Just one person ain't going to happen, but we're going to do it together instead. So it is going to happen, just a different way. And we need to get our heads around that. And so here, take a deep breath. I'm going to have a drink of water to clear my throat. And we'll go to the fifth point that I want to make today. So the first superpower that I named, which is the new currency, is resiliency, adaptability. Everybody, to the extent that you can develop that for yourself or already have it, that's the thing that's going to be most important to you, most critical for you, and for the people in your family and in your communities. The second superpower that we all have is the ability to choose where you put your attention and your energy. Now, maybe you didn't think that was a superpower, but honestly it is, especially these days. The power of choice, it will either save you or sink you, depending on what you choose and why you did that choice. So this is why it's so critical for you to learn how to manage yourselves and your conflicts better. And that's a quote from Brendan Burchard, by the way, who sent that out in a recent newsletter. I thought, yeah, he's on it. This is exactly right. Now, I'll come back to this earlier thing that I said. You are going to have feelings, lots of feelings, and you need to learn how to manage those feelings and the many conflicts that arise for you personally and for us collectively from a grounded space that allows you the freedom to think, reflect, and make wise decisions. Sometimes without the benefit of answers that would make it easier, because sometimes we just don't have the data. We don't have the information. We don't know if it's going to be the right choice or not. That's where intuition comes in. But there's a difference between intuition and emotions and our feelings, because fear is not driven by your intuition. It's driven by your lizard brain inside your head that does an automatic reaction, your fight or flight response. And those kinds of places, that's not a safe place to be in today's world. We need to have a better way to manage not only the feelings we have about what's going on, but also the circumstances of what's going on. If a tornado is bearing down on you and it's right overhead, that's not the time to consider, gee, how do I feel about this? You're going to have to haul ass and get yourself to safety, the safest place that you can find. Deal with your feelings later. So the first step to take, obviously, is the practical steps. And to be able to do that, you have to be able to manage your feelings well enough that you can address the challenges that you're facing. And that's a very important thing to understand, an important dynamic. So we're being called to do some mission impossible here. We got to perform at our top level under conditions where we don't know if what we do is going to work or not, while we're having very intense feelings about it and wishing to God that it wasn't happening. But it is. And we have feelings. And we need to manage those feelings and do our best to take the best choices that we can and take as much time as we have and can do to decide what our choice is going to be. What actions are we going to take? So this brings me to my next point, which is why transformation is necessary. A lot of people, and I have had my own moments where, like, why is this happening? Why does it have to happen? Especially when it's something I don't want, or it's messing up my life in some way. I really wish it wasn't happening, but the point is, it is, and I can't pretend it isn't. So you have to deal with reality, but there is actually a reason why transformation in the general sense is necessary. And that can kind of help us, I believe, in how to view the challenges that we face as opportunities versus threats. That said, immediate danger is always a threat, and you have to deal with that. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the concept of transformation and change, not immediate threats, which transformation and change will also bring. So widen your views just a little bit so we can think about this concept here, because it's an important one. The reason why transformation is necessary is because things no longer work the way they once did. The winds of change have changed how things work. And that was a little bit what I was talking about, of why we don't have saviors anymore that are going to take us to the promised land. We have to figure out what the promised land is for our communities, ourselves, and how we get there will be something we determine together. Call it whatever you like, but the plain facts are that systems are breaking down. What used to be reliable isn't anymore, by and large. Change is a constant, and for whatever reason, the energy of change has actually accelerated and speeded up in recent years. So the more you ignore this fact, and it's an essential fact, the more likely it is that you're going to be suffering. So stop trying to make things stay the same. They won't. They won't, and they can't. So trying to hold on to them is going to cause you and others to suffer more, and it may cause you to be defeated and put you in real danger if you can't adapt to those changes that you're facing in your life and be resilient enough to manage your inner life, your inner feelings, and your responses to the immediate things that are happening, as well as the larger things that are happening, as well as using what you are, who you are, what you have in your life, what you know, to be engaged in creating some kind of solutions, even if it's what is the next damn step I have to take to get me out of this mud puddle, or whatever it is that you're dealing with. Doing this can feel threatening too. Not having something safe to rely on while you're in the process of trying to create solutions and being disappointed by the fact that things aren't working the way they used to, and you want them to. Many things. I wish we still had X, Y, or Z staying the same. The more I want to make it stay like that, the less time I have to work out, well, what am I going to do now? When the pandemic first happened and we couldn't be together in person anymore, Zoom was the solution. We're talking on it now. It's probably this and things like it are going to be around for a while, but this was something that we never had to rely on. So the fact that we couldn't meet in person any longer in large groups or even in small groups for a while because of the illnesses that we're facing, that changed everything. It changed businesses. It closed some businesses. The wind of change, though it was threatening, and even though it was dangerous for some people, even though it caused a lot of destruction in some ways, it was also a tremendous opportunity. And the people who could see that and do something with that are doing pretty well, actually. And that's an example of what I mean by the adaptability being your superpower, and your resilience being a superpower, because the more that you can respond in those ways, and instead of, or in addition to, seeing something as a threat, you can say, what is the opportunity here? There will always be one. The Chinese glyph, or the symbol for danger, is both opportunity and danger, or two sides of the same coin. So you have both together, and never one without the other. So whenever there's danger, there's also an opportunity for something else. And you, by your choices, can make that something else be a whole lot better than it could be without your conscious participation, and sometimes connecting with other people who can help you make those kinds of decisions and give you the pieces of information you don't have. Some people are saying that the urge to create something new and better is actually one of the reasons why there's so many dramatic and profound changes going on in the world. And I don't know if I'll go that far, that I can totally get that, because there's too many other factors involved. And again, if we're going to try to assess blame, you can be here all day and never come to an end of it. So I don't find that a valuable exercise at all. But all of these topics, each of the things that we're discussing, are things that we could probably spend several hours during a masterclass to discuss and debate and talk about and ponder about. But for now, I just want you to hold this on, and each of the points that I have been making today, and acknowledge it, that change is a constant, and that sometimes transformation happens for a real reason. And when systems are breaking down, you better hope that their changes will bring something better, something new. And instead of waiting for somebody else to create that, we can make decisions about what kind of change do we want to see, and begin to be active even in our consciousness, like, gee, wouldn't it be nice if we had X, Y, or Z? And putting that energy out into the universe and calling for it will actually help bring it into development, into being. Because the more people who want that desire, that energy of desire, will begin to send some creative energy out into the world to replace the energy of destruction, which is tearing apart what used to exist that doesn't work anymore. Something else will. We just have to find it or create it. It's that simple. So what I'm saying is that there is a reason for what's happening, even if we can't yet see the patterns of it or understand yet how to work with it. The universe just unfolds like this, except this time, how humans respond collectively will determine the outcomes that we get. Something that is more true now than it has ever been in recorded times. We are part of a major shift. And you hear people saying this all over the place. But what I'm telling you on this masterclass is what I mean by a shift and why it's happening, what you can do about it, what your part in it is, how you ride this comet of transformation so that you don't get crashed by it. You don't have to. You can ride it through to a brighter future, a better way on the other side of it. When systems are breaking down, that's a great opportunity to create systems that won't break down under the new conditions, under the new energies. And that's what humanity is here to do. That's my belief. That's what I see is the most likely reason for the things that are going on right now. The simplest, but probably not the only reason for this shift, is that the ways we've been living aren't working for us anymore. We've been destroying the planet. And frankly, if humans weren't here anymore, the earth would do just fine without us. Just think how fast the air got clear and clean when we all stopped driving cars, when we had the first COVID lockdown. It was a matter of weeks out here where I live in Oregon, where the air was clean and clear and the air smelled fresh. Everything was lovely. And it was almost pristine again. And that's what I mean by how well the earth could do without us messing things up. And I'm not saying we should all, that's the solution, just stop driving cars and the world would get cleaner again. It's a lot bigger problem than that. And the problems and the solutions are not that simple. But there are still things that can be done. So if the earth can do just fine without us, it's kind of a problem, but it's one that we can solve and we have to solve. And in my opinion, I think that might be why we're in crisis now, is because we've created so many problems for ourselves that it's going to take collective effort to find the solutions to them. And I'm hopeful that we can and will solve all the crises that we face. And that too is probably a topic for a different masterclass, but there it is. I put it out there for us all to hold. Now, the other levels, this is the seventh point, the other levels of mastery that we need right now are managing your limiting beliefs. And everybody has some. For now, I'm just going to share a few that are definitely not helpful in the times that we face, and name the specific ones that I see are the most troublesome, let's say. So the first one is somebody else will do it. I don't have to do anything about it. Somebody else will take care of it. Well, that's maybe true, but their answer might not help you and your family. So that's the problem with that. The second limiting belief that needs to be managed is I'm not blank enough. And, fill in the blanks there. I'm not rich enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. Maybe not, but you're all you've got, baby. You're good enough to take the next step. And sometimes that's all it takes. Even if you don't know yet where you're going, you got to go somewhere. You may not be able to stay in where you are right now, either physically or literally or figuratively. So another limiting belief is the problem is too big to solve. I mean, that's the hidden message behind that. If the problem is too big to solve, then why bother, right? You get into an apathetic stance, but all problems are big. Most problems are pretty big, but no problem is too big for a solution. And solutions can be created and co-created. And that's why we're here. So it's time to roll up our sleeves on that one. Another limiting belief, which is not helpful right now, is nothing I do will matter or make a difference. Well, as somebody said, if you believe that, then you've never been bitten by a mosquito, because that can make a lot of changes and make a lot of discomfort. Everything that you do matters. We are all part of a marvelous tapestry called humanity, vast in diversity, colors, expression, and rich in beliefs and talent. Together, we weave the world. We literally weave the world together. I belong in several communities that are making a difference in the world, and I'd like to share a few of them with you. If we have time at the end, we can do that. And you may be aware of similar communities where people are doing some good things and co-creating some solutions. So I think that I'll put that on pause for a moment and kind of summarize and wrap up what we've been talking about here, and then see if there are questions. If you do have questions, or have you been having questions as you go along, you can type them into the chat. And Suzanne, my good friend and colleague and co-host here, is watching that for us and is going to let us know if you have questions, and I'll do my best to answer ones or point to resources if I can. Together, connecting with others and through whatever we have now, it does not have to be the best, the most, even the most effective. It's just what you have, and that's what you've got to work with. Use it. It will do something. It will do more than if you did nothing. So the way I see humanity moving forward with courage and dignity is through the power of connection and through the power of groups. And together, we do make an enormous difference, and we have the power to shape a better future through our combined actions, combined individual actions. Add them up one by one, and they're powerful. And I hope that the tiny glimpse I'm sharing with you today inspires you to reach out and connect with the communities that I'll share with you if we have time, and other communities of very much creative energy, so that what's good will spread much faster. And as they say, go viral, it needs to. So to wrap this up, we're all facing the same crises, but each with a different perspective. It affects each of us differently. The problems are the same. How we respond to them might be vastly different from the solution the next guy needs. So this is where you get flexible and creative. Make the changes that make things better, one small way at a time. If that's all you can do, start where you are. Where else could you start? What else could you do? Just begin with what you have and with what you know and with who you are. That's enough. That's more than enough. Collectively, this is how we make it work. We connect with other people who are maybe working on some little same corner of the puzzle and put more of the pieces together. Do what you can with what you know and what you have to help yourself and others stay focused on what really matters. We're spending an awful lot of time. I see people spending an awful lot of time on various media and in various ways, fretting about things that you can't really do anything about. Put that energy towards getting yourself stable inside, managing your own stuff, if you will, and learning what some effective things are. What are people doing that's working for them? Connect with those people. Stay away from distractions that lead into further trauma and chaos. It's easy to want to engage with them if something is makes you mad, or makes you scared. That's what the media, some of the media anyway, is doing. They're there to engage you through these hooks, if you will. Then they do hook you. Disconnect from them. You don't have to listen to that. Know where and how you can make best use of your attention and energy, and give it all you've got. Give it your best every moment, every day. Don't throw it away on things that don't matter, because there's too much that really doesn't matter right now. That's all shallow stuff. It's surface stuff. It is not going to get you where you need to be. I have often said, I have begun saying to people who want to know who I am and what I do is, don't work with me unless you want to go deep. I don't play in the shallow end of the pool. And I think you could see from today's mini masterclass what I mean by that. We don't have time for things that don't matter anymore. When we get through the crises and when we give ourselves a breathing room, when after the storm, we can sit back and say, wow, that was something. I survived that. We survived that. Then might be the time to tell the stories and have some fun. That would be a good thing. And I recommend having something that makes you laugh regularly. That pets and kids are really good for that. So I highly recommend those for good places to recharge your own energy, to have something to remember what beauty is and what goodness is. We need that. We need that very much right now. So when you lay your head down at night to rest, say a prayer of gratitude for the mercies you've witnessed, for the kindnesses you've experienced, for the gifts you've been able to share, even if it's only your smile to comfort a stranger. That's important. It's all important. This is your job. Take it seriously, but wear it lightly. Tread softly, but move ahead with courage and dignity. Remember that beauty lives inside you always, and you can always find it if you get quiet and look. Do that and teach others how. This is how we ride the comet of transformation, like the masters we came here to be. This is how we build a beautiful new world in the shape of goodness. It's why you're here. It's why you came. So go, be, do, and reach out your hand to bring along someone else. This is how it's done. This is how we get here. This is how we love a new world into being, despite all the challenges. So in the next few days, I'll be sending everyone who signed up for this call a small gift to remind you of what I shared today and to thank you for being here. And I want to say I'm really grateful for your brilliance and your light. And please take what you learned today and put it to good use for the sake of everything that's good in the world. So now I would like to see if there are questions. And Suzanne, can you let me know if there's anything in the chat people want to?
Is not.
No, so far.
Correct.
Okay. Well, this is your opportunity. If you have something you would like to ask, I can't promise I'll have an answer, but I will do my best to try. Okay, if there aren't any questions, I'm going to go ahead and share a community that I've been part of for some time now that is a resource for you, and I think is an important resource going forward. Their latest initiative is called Liberate Humanity, and I'm excited to see how it's engaging some beautiful new ideas to expand this emerging new energy of co-creativeness into communities and larger groups, not just individuals, where we've been studying this material for a while, where these principles can be put into action for better outcomes for larger groups of people. And one of my colleagues, who's also a mentor of mine, just relaunched her powerful book called Love Money, Money Loves You. Sounds simple, but it's really a very profound book. It's already changed hundreds of lives, and it's the foundation for a thriving community of leaders who are bringing these principles of a new energy into the world and making really good use of it. I just love being among and around these kinds of people, and that's the kind of communities I was talking about that really feed you and support new solutions going forward. There's some amazing new solutions that I've learned about just through being part of this group. So if you want to learn more about that and other resources that are available, you can contact me through my website at brightwings.com, and I will let you know about that. But when you contact me, let me know that you want to learn about the Liberate Humanity community, and I'll send you some information on how you can connect with them. And if you know of other communities that you find very useful in helpful in creating solutions and connecting people, let me know about that too. And I'll share that with my networks, because the more that we can connect with other people and connect people with people, then that's another way to thrive. So I hope this was not too much of a, what would you call this? I hope it wasn't too much of a blast for you. I hope you were able to take as much of this in as you can. Think about it, put it to work in your life, share it with other people, because these are the ways that we not only survive what's coming at us, but we're going to be in really good shape. Because my belief and my growing awareness is that people who are survivors are the emerging leaders of the world, that we know things. We've learned how to be adaptable. We've learned how to be resilient. And those are skills that are going to be in high demand for a really long time going forward. We're not going to be saviors. We're not going to be gurus. We're not here to teach or do anything like that for other people, but we are here to make things better in the ways that we can, in the ways that we know how. So take what you have learned, and Annette says she's in Denmark. Where do you find communities? Well, mostly And I think there are some communities in Denmark, and I don't know of any specifically, but I do have people, friends and colleagues in the UK. There may even be people from Denmark in the Liberate Humanity community, and I can find out if there are or not. So why don't you connect with me further, and we'll see what we can do to get you connected with some communities. Certainly they will be online, and that's a good place to start, of some groups or some interest that you may have, whether that's practical, like food sources, healthy food sources during crises. That's a popular theme right now, of how do we feed ourselves when things are so disrupted. Whatever your interest is, or whatever is coming through you in your heart and in your mind that you want to help create solutions for, connect with people around, you can find an online community that's already doing stuff, and maybe creating some brilliant solutions you would never have thought. So start there. And as I said, if I can find some communities in your area, I will let you know. Connect with me at my website, or you can reach me at nancy@brightwings.com, and I can respond to you there. Let me know what it is that you're looking for. Now, remind me you were on the call and we talked about that. So again, I thank you for being here. Oh, Anita has one, the Freedom Network. Oh, very good. So everyone, do yourselves a favor and save the chat. If you go to your chat room, and down at the very bottom, there are 3 dots down at the right-hand side, and you click on that where it says more. And there should be a way that you could, it says save chat right at the top. And then the link that's in there, you can save that. And particularly to Annette, that ought to be, or to Anita. No, Anita to Annette. There you go. Thanks.
And it might be a little more useful for everyone if you just click the link that Anita provided. It'll open in your browser and you can bookmark it there.
That's another way.
Rather than saving the chat, which then creates a text file you got to open and then click the link.
Very good. Good point, Suzanne. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can click it right now and just before we close the call. But for people who are just listening to the call, they probably will not get the chat information. So in that case, I will make sure that I've collected that link, and that'll be one of the links that I can share with people. So any other questions? That's a great question, Anita. Thank you for asking that. And there will be people from other parts of the world who are going to need this information. So the more that we can share with them and connect with them, the more people will be able to take the steps that are needed so that we're actually riding this comet instead of being smashed by it. And I believe that we can. I believe that we're going to. So once again, I thank everybody for being here. For those who are watching the replay, I apologize for the confusion in getting the proper links out to you. And please send me any questions that you have. Be happy to answer what I can. Meantime, be well. Go out in the world and do some good. Take good care of yourselves. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please follow, subscribe, and share with your friends.